Let's go to the board here for a minute and just write the name Christ. So often in our day, when we talk about Jesus, we don't just say Jesus, we say Jesus, what's his whole name? Jesus Christ. And as if this man's name here, for everyone out there in television land, is Bill Conklin. Bill is his first name and Conklin is his last name, right? Mary Geiger, that's your first name and your last name. And we sort of think that Jesus is Jesus' first name and Christ is his second name. But that's not the way it worked. In the ancient world, Jesus' full name would have been Jesus bar Joseph. Jesus, son of Joseph. Or Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus was his name. Christ was not his name. But the two words, Jesus and Christ, have been so closely linked together through 2,000 years of Christian history that nowadays we treat those two words as if they were a proper name. But now we're trying to go back into time to get the virgin response to Jesus and see that there was something radical here. When Peter looks at him and says, "You're the Christ." Now the name Christ comes from the Greek word Christos. That's easy, huh? You just learned a Greek word. It comes right across from Christos to Christ. But what's significant about that is that the word Christos in Greek is the Greek translation of the Hebrew word Masiach, which comes into English as Messiah. And the word Christos in Greek means anointed one. Because the Jews had a dream that was based upon certain promises that God would give them from time to time. That someday, it's almost Alice in Wonderland, almost a fairy tale type of future hope. You remember, who was it, Snow White or Cinderella that sang, "Someday my prince will come"? Who was that? Snow White? Okay, good. I got to get that straight. Snow White says something. Someday my prince, you found your prince, didn't you, Mary? Okay. Someday my prince will come. Well, Israel wasn't so much looking for a prince as they were looking for a king. Their national history was the history of one tragedy after another. We talk about World War II and the Holocaust as the most obscene chapter in human history, and sometimes forget that the Holocaust that took place with the systematic extermination of 2/3 of the world's population of Jewish people was by no means the first Holocaust. The history of Israel is the history of one Holocaust after another. There they were, situated in that tiny band of real estate that connected Africa and Asia. And it was, their little nation was like a ping pong table where the major powers were playing back and forth and running back through their cities and conquering it left and right. I mean, the total peace of Israel, the Pax Israelia, for 3,000 years total was about 20 years in all of their history. And the golden age of Israel was when God gave them a king who made them for a very short time a major world power. This tiny little country became the leading power in the ancient world. This king came in and he extended the boundaries of Israel from Dan to Beersheba, and his name was David. And David was Israel's greatest musician, Israel's greatest poet, Israel's greatest warrior, Israel's greatest administrator, and Israel's greatest king. And things were good while David was king. But as soon as David died, it was back to things as usual. Warfare, internecine politics, all kinds of violence and atrocities taking place. And once again, Israel becomes a ping pong ball for the world powers. And the people longed for the day when their king would come to remove oppression from them, to get rid of the Babylonians or the Assyrians or later on the Romans. And they saw in the person of this king the anointed one, not just an earthly warrior, but one who would be gifted from the power of God, that God would anoint, just as he had anointed David, that this Messiah would come and deliver them and throw out the Romans. And so there are little promises throughout Jewish history about this. Now, what happens when Jesus comes on the scene? Does he come on the scene like David? Does he come riding into Jerusalem on a white horse or with a chariot or with a sword and say, okay, Romans, leave. I'm taking over. I'm the new king. I'm the Messiah. No. Jesus did not take to himself the expected identity of the Messiah. Remember when he fed the 5,000? Takes a couple of fish and a couple of loaves of bread and feeds 5,000 people. You talk about a welfare program that won't quit, huh? And what was the mob reaction? They came to Jesus and tried to take hold of him in order to do what? To make him king. That's the kind of king we want. That can produce food like that and gives it away free. Everybody wants a king like that. And Jesus walked away. And every time somebody tried to talk to Jesus in terms of being a Messiah, he rejected it and walked away. And if you read very carefully in the New Testament, you will see that Jesus studiously avoids that title Messiah or the title Christ. Isn't that strange? Here we talk, that's how we call it, Jesus Christ. But Jesus was very reluctant to assume that title.